He is the greatest finisher in UFC history, a man who collects records like someone who collects trophies. But the legend of Charles du Bronx Oliveira wasn't written with easy victories. It was forged in fire. To understand Charles du Bronx, you need to understand the paradox. The fighter who has won the most via fast track is also the man who has given us the most scares. His greatest victories are tales of overcoming, where he flirts with disaster, looks defeat in the eye, and drags his opponent into the abyss with him. Today, we're going to delve into the 5 battles that transformed a talented but criticized young man into the most feared and exciting champion on the planet. And, at the end, we'll analyze how this whole journey has prepared him for the most anticipated showdown of the year, the battle for the belt against undefeated sensation Ilia Topuria. We'll analyze each fight based on 4 criteria: the significance for his career, the skill demonstrated, the drama of overcoming, and of course, the level of the opponent. Are you ready? Because this is the story of how a boy from Guarujá became the king.
End of 2020. Charles Oliveira was on a 7-fight winning streak, but the question was always the same: has he ever faced anyone from the elite? To silence the critics, he had to pass through the gate of hell. And that gatekeeper was Tony El Cucuy Ferguson. Ferguson was the category's nightmare. Unpredictable, infinite cardio, walking chaos. Nobody wanted to fight him. Charles not only wanted to, he went in there to teach him a lesson. It wasn't a fight, it was a dismantling. Charles left no room for chaos. He took the bogeyman to the depths and drowned him in his own game. And then came the moment that defined the fight. Any other fighter would have tapped. Ferguson's arm went somewhere it shouldn't have. El Cucuy's superhuman endurance only served to create an iconic image, that of the absolute lethality of Charles's jiu-jitsu. That night, Charles didn't just win a fight, he announced himself. He was no longer just a good fighter, he was a real threat to the belt.
11 years, 27 fights in the UFC. Charles' journey to the title was a marathon. On the other side was an explosion in person: Michael Chandler, the man who promised a quick knockout. The narrative was clear: the finisher against the knockout artist. And the fight was Charles' career in 5 minutes. In the first round, hell broke loose. Charles was almost knocked out. He survived a storm of punches that would have wiped out 99% of the category. The dream of a decade seemed to be slipping through his fingers. The round ended, and the question in the air was, will he make it back? He didn't just come back, he came back to make history. 19 seconds, that's all it took. A perfect counterattack, a predatory instinct, and the UFC belt had a new owner. That victory was the final proof. Not only did he win, he won by overcoming the very demon that had haunted him in the past: adversity. He was reborn from the ashes in the middle of battle. Being a champion is one thing. Being respected as the best in the world is another. In his first defense, Charles was the underdog. On the other side, the people's champion, Dustin Poirier, the man who was, for many, the true king of the category. The first round was the war everyone expected. Poirier connected his best blows. He knocked the champion down, but with each blow, Charles moved forward. He survived the storm again, but it was clear that punching at long range was Poirier's game. Then, in the second round, the champion showed his intelligence. He changed his strategy. Instead of boxing, he clinched. He wasn't just looking for the takedown, he was waging a cardio war, sapping Poirier's gas. And in the third round, the dirty work paid dividends. He jumped on Poirier's back like a predator. The end was inevitable. With this victory, he not only validated his belt, he silenced all the critics and proved, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that he was the best light heavyweight on the planet.
Imagine the scene. You're the champion, at the peak of your career, and hours before your fight, because of 200 grams on a controversial scale, you lose your title. The pressure was absurd. And the opponent, the most violent man in the sport, Justin Gaethje. What followed was chaos in its purest form. Gaethje did what he promised. He hunted Charles down, and he knocked him out. Twice. It looked like the end. But here, we saw the psychological checkmate of Charles's jiu-jitsu. Gaethje, a knockout artist with a killer instinct, was afraid to follow his prey to the ground. That hesitation was his fatal mistake. Charles rose from the canvas, found Gaethje's chin, and this time there was no hesitation. He dived into enemy territory and finished him. He left the arena without the belt, but he won something greater. The crown of People's Champion. The phrase was born that night. The champion has a name, and his name is Charles Oliveira. After his defeat to Islam Makhachev, the question was, is the old Charles, the fighter who fell apart, back? He needed redemption, and his opponent was Beneil Dariush, a monster on an 8-fight winning streak and with the promise of a title shot. The fight began in the worst-case scenario for Charles. Dariush took him down and controlled him. But there was no panic. There was calm. He waited for his moment. And when the fight was back on the feet, it was a statement. A high kick that changed everything, followed by violence that reminded everyone who he was. He didn't just win, he destroyed the hottest guy in the division. This fight showed Charles's final evolution. He's no longer a grappler who knows how to fight on his feet. He's an elite knockout artist who also happens to be the greatest finisher in history. And that creates a terrifying dilemma for anyone who steps into the octagon with him. And all this journey of fire, falls, and rebirth has brought us here. UFC 317. The vacant belt. Charles "Du Bronx" Oliveira against the undefeated phenomenon, Ilia El Matador Topuria. It's the perfect clash of styles. Topuria's precise boxing and knockout power against Charles' resilience, volume, and legendary jiu-jitsu. The questions are clear. Will Charles' chin, which has been tested so many times, withstand the hand of a specialist like Topuria? And Topuria, how will he cope with the strength and pressure of an elite light heavyweight, who could drag him into deep, dark waters at any moment? This Saturday, it's not just a title fight, it's a fight for legacy. Will the matador of the new generation finally extinguish the flame? Or will the Bronx Phoenix rise from the ashes once again to reign supreme?